First of all, the people who were in prison didn't have 5,000 naira to pay.
Yes.
I mean, one would only imagine what level of poverty the relatives could be in. That's why they would leave their relative there, over 5,000 naira. How then do they challenge? It was saying that you would need
in most
resources
cases,
to do
frankly
that.
speaking, in most cases, the family members are not aware. This is our experience. They are not aware. Because these guys, say Lagos, for instance, on the day of environmental sanitation, boys who are playing football on the road, because the roads are clear, again, which is part of this problem of the state, that we do not have grants where young people can entertain themselves.
On environmental sanitation.
yes.
They shouldn't be there, should they?
No, I'm saying they shouldn't be playing football on the main road because
yeah.
they have no facility.
Yeah, but they shouldn't be playing football
No,
during
I'm
environmental
not saying,
sanitation
I'm not justifying
hours.
that. I'm saying the system has to be blamed. But then what happens? Instead of simply warning them, don't do this again, they are taken to Alausa, all manners of courts there, where they are prosecuted, convicted, or fined, and then, because they have no access to contacting their family members, they land in Kirikiri prisons. Regularly.
That's not illegal, is it? The kind of trial that they get.
No, the law says the man or the suspect is entitled to illegal defense. He must contact a lawyer or his family member, but they are not allowed.
No, help us. So on this case of, in this case of mobile courts.
Whichever case.
So even when it's a mobile court that we have seen all over the place.
Oh yes, the law says anybody who is charged with a criminal offense is entitled to either, represent him or herself, or be represented by a legal practitioner of his or her choice. Oh yes. Yeah.
But the reforms that we hear that is being carried out in the judiciary by the CJN, how far-reaching are they?
With respect to the Chief Justice of Nigeria, the reforms has to do essentially with getting judges who are corrupt or who have breached their oath of office out of the system. In terms of serious reforms that will have implications for the criminal justice system, not much has been done in that area. Again, I must commend the Chief Justice. Through her, the Federal High Court, the Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court have brought out new rules, practice directions to facilitate and accelerate trial of corruption cases and cases that have to do with terrorism. Unfortunately, and those practice directions are almost a year old now. I haven't seen any court apply them.
Wow.
For instance, corruption cases are supposed, under the rules now, to be taken day by day. But we have a situation whereby if you are standing trial, you can contest election and win and get your case adjourned sine die. But under the rule, the case is supposed to be tried day in, day out, so that you know your fate in a week or two.
So would it be out of place if lawyers were to speak up and challenge some of these cases in some of these courts?
Of course, we're doing that. Oh, in some cases, we're doing that.
Any results for that?
Not much success has been recorded.
Is our problem intractable? We're looking at this, and it would seem that we're facing a myriad of problems. First of all, from police investigations in terms of when the suspects are taken in the process of an investigation. You said that it's illegal to parade them, but oftentimes what we get is a parade. And then before we know what's happening, sometimes they get to court, sometimes they don't get to court. But when they do get to court, they could be there for as long as 3 years. That would be frustrating for any police worth its onions, wouldn't it?
Makwe, my law office is handling a case now in one of the states where we discovered that neither the police nor the Ministry of Justice has any file on about 50 people who are in the prison. Nobody has their file. So you can just be sure they are there indefinitely. It is as bad.
So rights will keep on being violated on a daily basis, and nobody knows about them. Nobody even has a record of these people in prison.
Even when a chief judge goes to a prison, he or she is only exposed to those who are presented by the prison authorities.
Those presented.
Yes. Oh, yes. It's a very terrible situation we're in.
Dupa wants to know, pardon me, he wants to find out, please, what is the NBA doing about ensuring lawyers do pro bono cases for poor people?
Well, the NBA tries to encourage lawyers to get involved in pro bono publico cases, but again,
doesn't work.
It's only by way of advice. It has not become part of the rules that every lawyer must get involved. But again, for me, I think we have even gone beyond that. The human rights community has got the National Assembly to amend the Legal Aid Council Act and the National Human Rights Commission Act. Under the Legal Aid Act now, everybody who has a civil or any indigent person who has a civil or criminal case must be provided with a lawyer by the system. Everybody. Unfortunately, most Nigerians are not aware yet. So we're just trying to see whether we can produce some pamphlets and get them translated into local languages so that people can know they have this right and make demand on the state. Secondly, the Human Rights Commission is also dealing with a lot of these human rights violations now. I mean, said it by Professor Shide Odinkalo, who is quite, concerned. So the situation is no longer as bad as it used to be. Most of the states, I mean, this started in Lagos, you have the Office of the Public Defender, again, to take up cases, that have to do with the poor. That is apart from what the human rights organizations are doing.
But how much can the Attorney General do in terms of seeing that the judiciary of the criminal justice system is to a large extent up and running?
No, I think the attorneys general, the federal and the states, will have to do much more in terms of having a regular synergy with the police and other law enforcement agencies to ensure that the rights of suspects are respected. I mean, we're just doing the paper for the new, the acting Inspector General of Police to ensure, on a more serious note, that human rights courses are taught in all police colleges. When I say on a more serious note, people from outside should be invited to teach such courses. And what the attorneys general will have to do is to ensure that every police person, every policeman or woman, any law enforcement officer who is indicted by the court will have to be prosecuted. And if the state has to pay damages because of your action, again, you should be sanctioned. But what happens, like the case I was talking about in Benin, before the appeal is concluded, the officer involved might have been promoted. So nobody is penalized for the massive violations of the rights of people.
Because if you look at it critically, it seems a helpless case.
You know why it's helpless? You know why we're helpless? Again, as I said, when the rich people have contact with the law, when you take a big man to the prison, you are not locked up in the regular prisons. In every prison, there is a place they call the White House. You pay daily, but you have some reasonable comfort. but the ordinary people are lumped together, which was why the Attorney General of Ekiti State, Mr. Wale Faponda, cried out and warned all prison authorities in the country to take extraordinary measures to ensure that the Ebola virus does not, go to any of our prisons. It's not, because it will have been disastrous.